Well, hello everybody and welcome back to Conan Exiles. Here we are once again with yet another video. This is a little bit of a different one again, just to, as the title suggests, talk to you about dancers, or entertainers as they're called in the game, and hopefully explain in a very simple way how they look, which you can obviously see when you're out in the world, but what they're used for, how they work, and are they any good as a fighter, or are they just somebody to keep in your base? What's the whole point of a dancer? Are they any good? Hopefully we'll answer that by the end of this video. Stick around to the end for a little bonus tip as well, for if you're somebody who likes using all the sorcery side of things in Conan and doesn't want to keep being miles away from a dancer to keep losing the corruption. They want to keep it. I'll give you a little tip of a way that you can still have entertainers in your home but not lose your corruption. Let's get into it. Okay then, so just what are entertainers in Conan Exiles? Well, they are a female, or believe it or not, male NPC that you will find throughout the world as you're going around in the exiled lands and the Isle of Sipta. This is on exiled lands that we're covering this one on. Pretty much the same on Sipta, but they might be in different spawn locations to what they are on here. But for the exiled lands, which is the main map, they will typically be seen wearing similar to what the two young ladies in the middle have, so the second and third one, possibly with the top missing. Sometimes it would depend on whereabouts they are and where they're from, because you can get an entertainer in each of the different tribes, right from exiles down at the bottom, which actually our little lady there at the end, our dancer one, she's actually an exile, so as you can see she kind of comes with the normal coarse top, or she could be topless as well. Then you get your tier 2, which again is from another different tribe, but same sort of appearance. And then your tier 3s, which is your higher level again. And then the lady that looks a little bit different at the end there, you've seen her in a previous video, that is Leonil. She's of the Sumerian tribe, and she's what we call a tier 4, so a named entertainer. Now, there isn't a huge difference to having a named entertainer compared to a tier 1, 2 or a 3. But there are some benefits to having a named one, which we'll cover shortly. But as I say, these are just some examples of entertainers that you'll find out and about in the world. I will show you at the end of the video a couple of locations where you can find them, so you know what you're looking for and how you'll spot them. A couple of ways, like I say. One is by the clothing that they're wearing, and most likely a lot of the time when they're at a bonfire or a camp, wherever they are, they do usually tend to be doing a little dance, so they're quite easy to spot. But they are available from all of the tribes, like I say, from exiles, Tefari, dogs of the desert, Blackhand, all the way up, right up to even the volcano, I believe. And they come in 4 different stages, so your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and then tier 4, which is your named entertainer. There'll be a different one in each tribe, so there might be a male or it might be a female. They all have the same benefits and bonuses, but just that they work slightly better. The big feature from entertainers is that they remove your corruption that you've gained. So if you've been out in the unnamed city and you've caught a load of corruption from being in there, which is one of the main places you can get it, or you've been down in the sinkhole with the undead dragon in the arena and you've got a lot of corruption from there, or from doing sorcery, or you've been hit by enemies around the world that do deal corruption damage to you if they hit you. An entertainer is very, very useful for moving that, because it's a special, if you will, passive ability that they have, that they can remove your corruption. It's not a huge difference depending on what you have, so even if you first start out in the game and you can only get yourself a little tier 1, having an entertainer is better than having no entertainer. Just the plus side is with the highest tier you can get, the more HP they're going to have, so the more health they're going to have. If you want them to be a little bit of a fighter and come out with you, which I'll talk about later again as well, that you can do, they do hit a little harder then as well, and obviously they've got a bit more armour when they are a tier 4. You could do it with a tier 3, but a tier 4 is ultimately your best one. But just at early game starting out, if you can get hold of a tier 1 or a tier 2, they'll all do the same job. They will all cleanse your corruption over time. The only real difference is that the tier 1 removes your corruption the slowest, the tier 2 removes it slightly quicker, not a huge difference, but slightly bit quicker. The tier 3 a little bit faster still, and then the tier 4 a little bit quicker still. But the benefits of a tier 4, as I'll mention later, is that obviously they can be out and about as a fighter companion with you. So if you go into a corrupted area, you've got a good fighter with you, but you've also got somebody that can lose your corruption. So that is the basics. So how does this passive for their corruption removal work? Well, I've got a little setup done, so we'll go have a look and I'll explain how that works. Okay, so I am just playing using God mode at the minute, just so you can kind of see this shape that I've done, just to explain what it is and why we've done it and how it's going to work. But basically, our entertainer, and this is a tier 4 that we're using, so it's a named one again. Doesn't matter even if it's a tier 1, this will still work the same radius. It doesn't mean if they're a lower level do you have to be closer, it's the same spacing, but this is just a visual reference, if you will, just to give you an idea of how far away or how close to the dancer you can be before you start receiving their passive corruption removal, or the entertained buff as it's called. Because if you are too far away from them, then you will lose that buff, which means that you're not going to get any corruption removed. And the way this is designed is she's in the middle of the centre square as it is, and then on each of the arms at 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock that you can see, we've got an outer square, which is where we're going to start, and then where the two fences are either side, that's to represent the line of once I cross over that line, as you'll see, towards the dancer, that the buff kicks in. But then if I come away from that line, we lose it, and it works in any direction, so even diagonal and even vertical as well as horizontal. So I'll show you that now. If I come out of there as well, as we can see, if you look at the top left, we don't have any buffs popping up under my current symbols that are there at the moment. So if I step forward onto this line, still nothing as you can see, but as soon as I step in, we now have that buff that says entertained. That's because we're in range of our entertainer, so she's dead centre of that square. There's another 1, 2, 3 squares. So up to the edge of 3 squares away from her I can get the entertained buff, but if I come back out again, and then we wait a few seconds, just take a few seconds to disappear sometimes. But as soon as I cross out into this square, I'm over that line, and then you'll notice that the buff symbol's disappeared, cross back in, there we go. So even if I cross over here, even if I'm stood here to her, still get it. But then if we come out here once again, we're outside that radius again, so we're now not getting it. Cross back in, it does take a couple of seconds to pop up, sometimes it's not very quick, but there you go. So once again, so no matter where we are, as long as we stay within this radius, and this would work if we were up above her as well, it does kind of pop off occasionally at times but then come back again. As you can see, we're still receiving that from her, because as long as we're within sort of this line, if you will, so this here as well, if we're kind of definitely within this, then we're definitely getting the entertained buff from her. Which if I go to my character sheet, you can see it up on the top left there. That shows you what benefits I'm getting from getting that entertained buff from my dancer. And that's great if I'm a normal player who doesn't want corruption. Yes, if I'm doing sorcery I could have that in another part of my base somewhere, but if I'm somewhere where I haven't really got the space to build another separate little area, or I don't want to keep running all the way outside just all my sorcery stuff to do my sorcery, because I want to be away from my dancer, because I want to gain the corruption, I don't want to lose it. There is another way, that if like me you like to have entertainers dancing away in your base because they look aesthetically pleasing to you, but you're somebody that wants corruption, there is a way you can do this without obviously having an actual legitimate entertainer in your house. And I'll show you how we achieve that. It's actually quite easy. Very quickly then, just before we look at how we can have entertainers in our base without them actually being entertainers, but still looking like entertainers and giving us that visual look, we'll just very quickly show you the stats of what some of these get, so you know what you're kind of looking at. So with a tier 1, as you can see, they come with hardly any points in anything. They still have a percentage chances to level up in those particular areas, just as any other follower does, but the health is just extremely low. So this is definitely not somebody you'd want to take out fighting. Even in really good armour, they probably wouldn't last 5 minutes, because they're not even worth putting the time into to level up, because the health is just so low. I would set these to passive or neutral, and just leave them inside your base somewhere safe if you want an entertainer. Same with your tier 2. Now obviously, depending on which tribe they're from, the health might be slightly higher. If they're from, let's say, the Relic Hunter faction as opposed to Defari, the health might be a little higher. They may have 1 or 2 more perk points than Defari's because of a slightly higher tribe, but again, still not great as a combat follower. This tier 3 is from the Relic Hunter faction, if I remember correctly, even though it might say like Zamorian Dancer, Zingaran Dancer, Hyborian Dancer 3. If you've got them from Conan's Bar, which again, stick around, I'll show at the end of the video a few places to get them from, your different entertainers. If we take a look at her stats, as you can see, a lot better on the health at level 0, a few more points. She's more agility focused, so you could take this one out if you wanted to do, but again, I'd make sure she's in some good heavy armour that gives her some good protection. She's got a good weapon, and level them up into agility and health definitely for their damage output. It's not going to be mega high, but again, if you wanted somebody to take with you, you could get away with taking a tier 3 out with you for most content. Probably wouldn't take them against big boss fights, to be honest, or doing dungeons as such, because they are quite vulnerable and quite squishy still. But that's a tier 3 that's from the Relic Hunter faction. And as I hinted to at the beginning, this is Leonil, who is a Sumerian tier 4 entertainer. So she's a named entertainer from the Sumerian tribe. So if we have a look at her stats, really good on the health at level 0, has the percentage chances for loading up once again, leveling up rather. But as you can see, she comes with the 15 in strength and the 30 in vitality, which is similar to the Sumerian Berserker or Delincia Snow Hunter, because she's of that same particular tribe, and she's again strength focused. Not a super duper hard hitter, but I have used Leonil quite a lot in both War Party and as a single follower, and she does hit reasonably hard with the ultimate setup. So if you've got the ultimate strength setup on her, and you can get something like a momentum for her, give her all her buffs and bonuses just like you do a regular fighter, she can still hit reasonably hard. She's one I would definitely recommend. She's not easy to get hold of, because unfortunately where she spawns, she isn't a guaranteed spawn. Unless you get lucky and get one out of the cages. But her guaranteed, well, what should be a guaranteed spawn at Mounds of the Dead isn't guaranteed. Unfortunately, it's not 100% guaranteed that you'll get her, but I'll show you where she can spawn up at Mounds of the Dead in case you want to check as well. But this is one of the ones I would recommend. If you're doing your cages and you happen to get Amma the Seductress out of one of the cages, that was who you just saw at the little model layout that I just showed you. She's a tier 4 from the Child of Jabal Sag tribe, and she used to only be available on the Isle of Sipta, but now obviously this applies still on Unreal Engine 5 as well, on the enhanced version. As far as I know, you could then get her from cages on Exiled Lands as well if you get lucky, and she comes pretty much as similar to Leonil, with the good health and the strength and health bonuses already there. So again, you want to level her up in strength, give her the same setup, and she could be pretty good also. But they are good because they're not only a decent fighter, but if you get caught by any corruption, you've got your built-in corruption removal out and about with you. Now obviously, if you're a corrupted sorcerer or a corrupted build and you don't want to lose corruption, why would you take a tier 4 or any dancer out with you? You take a normal fighter, because you don't want to lose that corruption, you want to keep it. So this is more if you're somebody who doesn't want corruption or is going to struggle with it and doesn't need it. You get a 2-for-1 deal because you get a decent fighter, plus you get your corruption removal. Now if you like to run War Party with 2 followers, say a Delincia or a Sumerian Berserker, pair them up with Leonil or the child of Jabal Sagwan, the Amon the Seductress, and you're pretty much onto a winner. Cannot recommend it enough. So that's just a quick overview of the stats and things that they come with. You won't see Leonil dressed as she is here. She's obviously dressed like this because she is wearing the Ultimate Strength setup, just with a different visual appearance of how I've got her set up on this playthrough that I'm doing. But she will typically be like this tier 3, either in the top and skirt, or she'll just have the skirt with no top, depending on how she's spawned. But you'll spot her, you know what she looks like at least, appearance wise, to keep an eye out for her if you do go looking for her. So that is the very basics and the benefits of having an entertainer in your base. As I said earlier, how do we still get the visual aesthetic of entertainers in our base, but without getting the entertain buff? Well, I'll show you. Well, here we are. We've had a little bit of a shift change in the room, and as you can see, we quite happily have two ladies dancing away for us, dressed up just as entertainers would be dressed up. But if you notice by my top left there, the only buff I have showing at the moment now is the sheltered buff because I'm inside a building. What we don't have is an entertain buff, no matter how close I get to these two ladies. And there's a little clue there of why. But yeah, look, no matter how close I get, we're not getting an entertain buff, and that is because if you look at their name tags, if you can manage to see them while they're dancing, they are actually fighters. So it doesn't matter what level you use, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, even a couple of named if you've got them knocking around and you're just not going to use them because they've not got the right perks, or you just can't bother to wait and get the elixirs to re-roll their stats yet. Pop them in some dancer's gear, stick them on your stage, and like you can see, just like having entertainers dancing around for you, you're a corrupted build. You don't have to worry about losing any corruption because it's a couple of fighters, and fighters don't give you the entertain buff. So that is how, if you're a fully corrupted build or a top level sorcerer that wants the corruption and wants to embrace it but would like to have pretty looking dancers in their base still but think they can't, this is how you do it. This is how you get them. Just get a couple of fighters or a couple of archers if you've got them spared. No good a crafter if you've got living settlements enabled because they won't stand still, they'll keep walking off. But fighters or archers that you've got knocking around that you don't need, just pop them out, pop them in some dancer's gear, which is the Sumerian, not Sumerian, Zamorian dancer entertainment gear. So it's the top, the pants and then the jewellery. Nice and easy to get. You can make this on your armour sprint yourself very easily, pick it up from mobs when you're out and about as well. Very easy to get hold of, does dye up quite nice as well, as you saw by the top that Leonil had on with the purple and white. So yeah, that's how you do it if you're a corrupted build and you don't want to get the entertain buff. Right. Well, one of the first places you can come to very early game if you want to try and get yourself an entertainer, it's fairly easy because if people don't hit too hard, if you're playing on regular difficulty, but you'll have an archer and a couple of people out here to deal with. We are up here at Sinner's Refuge. Apologies if the colour looks a bit weird, I've just upped the gamma ready for when we go inside. Well, we're right here on the map, just between G and H, as you can see just there. So if you're coming up from down there, or you come straight up and over there, that will bring you up from the river. And what you want to do is head inside. Apologies that it's not very bright. Bring you down here, you'll have some people here to deal with. Bear in mind I am cloaked and in god mode so they can't see me. But you'll have a couple of archers up there shooting at you, you'll have these two here to contend with. You might have a patrolling person around somewhere. So do be mindful of them. Again, they don't all hit too hard, but just don't get overwhelmed too early before you've got any okay gear to actually deal with them. You don't want to run in here with nothing because they will still overwhelm you. Right, let me just grab a torch. Right, there we go. This should probably help a little bit. Use a glow stick rather than a torch so you don't get all the flame work everywhere. But yeah, as you can see, there's a wanderer there, quite low level. It can be a named fighter. Deirdre Deathbringer I think her name is, so it's worth looking out for them. They can be useful as well. And you get someone called, I think it's Frigga False Hope, I think her name is pronounced. But what you want to do is come up to the back here. Again, you're going to have a wanderer there. You may well pull the two that are up there, so you're best trying to kite everybody out first one at a time or a couple at a time if you can. Then what you want to do is just to the left here, you can just see them in the background there. You'll always have two guaranteed dancers, and they can be male and female, and as you can see there, there could be a tier 1 or a tier 2. If you get really lucky, you can get a tier 3 in here, or you might even get a named one if you're really lucky, but I've never got that lucky. It's typically been tier 1s and tier 2s, and it could be 2 girls, 2 men, or one of each, but they're always here. So I suggest knock them both out, take the one you want if one's a slightly better level, and take them back to your wheel of friendship and get them trained up and make them your friend. Another good spot a bit further into the game as you're a bit more leveled up and you've got a bit further in. You can probably tell by the rather excited bearer here to my right, or to the left of my character that would be, but right of the screen. She's rather excited because if we turn a bit more, as you can see, we have a male entertainer here. And this is one location, and I think there are a couple of different spots in here you can get them. If I pull up my map, you see where we are, we're just right up here. Bit more into the desert now, a bit more into the game, up at the den, which the den is a really good place again for all sorts of fighters and archers, crafters. There is a guaranteed archer spawn, Dunaman the Dragoon, at the other side of here. I'll show you where he is just for a bonus thing while we're here. Well, he's guaranteed, and he's a pretty fast leveler. And there are lots of different ways you can come in from up there. You've got this person here. Well, the den is quite a big area, so you want to look around. Obviously these guys are all ignoring me because I am cloaked, as I say, but they are all aggressive, including the hyenas. They will attack you as well, so just be very, very careful. But you'll see as you go around, you'll spot sorcerers here and there, so you've got plenty of sorcerers you can get in here. As I say, you've got entertainers, sorcerers, fighters, priests. You've got all sorts in here. This spot just here, you've got 2 guaranteed sorcerers. So we're just here, always guaranteed. They're always sorcerers. Got another bonfire here. There we go. There's another entertainer. As you can see, we're in the top and bottoms, like I was saying, so a nice easy to spot. There could be more places than this in here that has one, but again you can quite easily see that that's at least 2 locations. Another rather excited priestess right there. But yeah, there's a few different spots in here, so this is another pretty good one. Bit of a dangerous area because, like I say, you're going to have to fight your way in here and either come in with a truncheon and a good leveled up friend like a berserker or Delincia, or a really good cannibal brute. If you had a cannibal brute earlier on, just bring them in with a good truncheon, knock everything out. Or if you can clearly see it's just fighters, just kill all of them. But if you go into a bit where there might be an entertainer, give your friend a truncheon like you and go and knock a few people on the head and then choose which one you want. So this is another good spot. But there's one even better than this. It's still a little bit of a dangerous area, but there's an easy way to obtain them. A guaranteed tier 3. 3 of them even. What am I talking about? Let's have a look. So very, very quickly before we leave this area, so I'll show you where Dunaman the Dragoon is, the guaranteed archer. And as you can see, we are just here, which when the event is on, it's just down there usually, over my left shoulder. If I show you on the map, we're over on this far side, far west side of the den, closer to this bit here. If you come up onto here, these people are hostile, bear in mind, so they will attack you. But that's the den just there, all in there. You've got a person sat here, but they will definitely attack you. You've got a couple of people a bit further up here that you'll have to deal with. And then he does have 2 guards with him, so you will have to knock these out as well. You don't want to risk killing them or sending your follower in to kill them because they could potentially kill him. But there is Dunaman the Dragoon, as I say, right here at this position in the den, up on this upper level if you will. And he's a guaranteed spawn. Pretty good archer actually, pretty strong. His numbers should be on the wiki, I think, if you want to see what his actual damage numbers are, but he's pretty decent once again. Very quick leveler, like the Cannibal Brute, and as I say, he's guaranteed, so you'll always find him here. So if you get one and the stats aren't great, at least you could always come back a bit later and try and get him again and have another go. But he's a guaranteed archer here at the den. So then here we are up at a very wet and miserable Mounds of the Dead as usual, and you can see an entertainer stood next to me here. Of course it's not Leonil, but this very spot here where this gentleman is stood is where you can find Leonil if she spawns. So you've got a mound just behind you there, you've got this rather weird looking tree that you can see just there, so you can see if I look around whereabouts we are. If I just pop down here, you'll know if you're getting to her if you're coming in this way, because if you go around here, you've got obviously this wall, you can nip in here if you wanted to come into here, or obviously you've got the gate just there that I've actually gone past, but it's just there where you'll get a couple of guards. There can be wanderers around here as well, so just be wary, and bear in mind these guys do hit very hard, so be very, very careful. But if you can see this mound and see this entrance, just where we are here at Mounds of the Dead, try and zoom my map in a bit. And then you can see exactly where we are, just sort of up on the north end of it, up in that top corner of 11B, I think that is. So at this mound, so up behind here, on the front, is where she could be. She would be stood right here if she's here, where this male entertainer is right now. So what you could do is, another way is coming around this way. Again, you're going to have to fight more people. It's usually an archer or somebody sat on the edge here. But if you're coming in through Mounds of the Dead, you'd come up this passage right here. If you've already been wandering around, you've got another barrow up there and things that you can check for other spawns for crafters and other fighters and what have you. And even Dolincia, if she's up there, she can spawn wandering around up there, even down here. There you go, you've got a wanderer there. So if we go back up here, and then if we take a look up this one, where you can see that person stood up there, that is what is known by a lot of players as Death Hill, as you can see, which is right on the edge of the mound, kind of overlooking where Braga, the NPC, is that you can talk to. If I just come up here, you've got a cage, which if it has somebody in it, typically it tends to be a barkeep. You'll have your fighter always stood here, always a bearer of some sort, another fighter of some sort, can be Dolincia again, and then of course you've got this person here who looks like Dolincia because it's the whole no top Sumerian fur bottoms and boots scenario, but as you can see that's quite clearly not Dolincia, it's a jailer. So if you do happen to climb up the side here and poke your head over to see and you think that's Dolincia sat there, it's not, it's a jailer, and she can hit pretty hard, so just be careful. But that is the centre of the mounds just there, as you can see. And that bonfire just down there in front of me, that's where you got Braga, who's another NPC that you can go and talk to, a bit like some of the others you've come across throughout the game, and he'll kind of tell you a little bit about the area and what he's seen and what's going on. But that is where we get Leonil from. So yeah, here we go, our last location I'm going to show you for today, but there are lots of other places all around the Exiled Land where you can find entertainers of all different levels. Didn't want to show them all off in this video because it would just take too long. We're just wanted to give you the idea so you know what to look out for when you're out and about. As I said, this will apply on both console for the UE4 version and also in the UE5 enhanced version as well. These still apply. And yeah, just as typical Conan behaves, I get here to Conan's bar in Sepamaru, excuse me, as you can see just there. Yeah, that's the beer talking. Typical when I get here today, there's 3 male dancers that are all here. Must have known Lexi was coming. But this can be, again, as you can see, 3 males, 3 females, or a mixture of each, 2 female and a male, or 2 male and a female, or 3 of the same. But these are always tier 3 and these are always guaranteed. What I will say is, don't just come in here and bash one over the head, unless you're prepared to fight all of them. and you've also taken out everybody out here. So these two that are sat here, these that are sat here, and a couple of wanderers that are usually wandering around as well, because as soon as you hit somebody in there, all of them will pile in here to fight you as well, and you'll come unstuck. So I highly recommend doing your Troll Taker journey, which is at level 10, I believe you can unlock that. Get that unlocked, get that journey done, and get yourself the recipe for the Purple Lotus orbs, which you will need, yeah, surprisingly, Purple Lotus for, and make yourself some of those on your alchemist bench. Or if you get lucky and you manage to loot some off people that you've killed or out of chests when you're out and about in the world, keep an eye out for them, because Purple Lotus orbs are very, very handy, especially in here, because if you came in with them and you threw one down here, what would happen is you'd get your purple cloud of sleepiness, let's call it, which would trigger, and eventually you start to see their torpidity bar start to drop, and eventually would knock them out. Typically it's 1 to 2 orbs. If there's a named person somewhere, it might take 3, possibly 4, but it won't work in somewhere like the den because of all the aggro. But here in Sepamaru, because everybody is neutral, well, most people are neutral in here, unless you start a fight, they won't fight you. So like I say, throw a couple of your orbs down, wait for it to knock them out, pop them on your robe, drag them away to your wheel, job done. And it's always a guaranteed tier 3 from here. You won't get anything less and you won't get a named from here, but it's always a guaranteed tier 3. And as you saw with my tier 3 that I showed you, they're a pretty decent level, pretty good start in health, and it's always guaranteed, as I say. For your Purple Lotus, to make your Purple Lotus orbs, you're going to have to go up here to the swamp and go and farm up some Purple Lotus. If you need Black Lotus for anything as well, you're going to have to come down to the Black Lotus garden just next to the Palace of the Witch Queen, but you will need your Sandstone Breathing Mask to go in there because it's poisonous gas. You can just run in, get a little bit and run out again if you're feeling brave, but I don't recommend it. If you've made yourself a Sandstone Breathing Mask, if you're at steel tier by now, make yourself that, then you go in, harvest a load of Lotus with your sickle, bring it back to your base, and then you can make your Purple Lotus orbs on your alchemist bench. But I would be very, very careful where you use those, and save those for these safe places like Sepamaru. Definitely, it's definitely worth using in your non-hostile areas. So there you have it, everybody. That is just about everything you need to know for your entertainers in Conan Exiles, and this is for the Exiled Land. So I hope you found that one interesting, hope you found it useful. Just thought something a little bit different to have a look at, so now you know what the benefits of having an entertainer are, the different tiers that they can be, and the benefits of having the different levels of what they are, what they can give you, and also a little extra way of how you can get yourself entertainers in your base but without them being entertainers, so using fighters to represent dancers, so you still get the visual aesthetic look of them, but you're a corrupted build and you're not losing your corruption because they ain't really dancers. They're your fakes, as they say, but it can be done. So hopefully now you know. So if you did enjoy that one, do me a huge favour, leave a like, leave your comments down below for the algorithm, share it out to everybody else and your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and until the next one guys, happy entertaining.